it's 6:30.
My neighbors didn't
Call the
call
Audit and
me.
Finance
I gave
Committee
them, egg and
order.
milk.
Motion approved previous minutes. Mr. Price, second by Mr. Joyce. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You want to trade chairs?
Thank you.
No, I'm good.
We're going to table 1
Too tired.
through 6. And 7 and 8 will hold. We can back to it when the clerk gets here. We'll go to it. Number 9 is authorizing lease agreement with Sojourn and a public hearing. We'll just do the public hearing portion right now.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sigeratz, second by Mr. Kraus. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Number 10 is district attorney budget adjustments. Any questions?
So moved.
Yes, Mr. Grimm?
Yes, why are these being brought out now rather than being in the budget process? I mean, okay, go ahead.
The grant begins October 1st of this year, and so we have to put the money into the budget for 2017 in order to seek reimbursement for the full grant year, which goes until September 30th of 18.
You say, first of all, it says this is for the mission of the Governor's Traffic Safety Highway Safety Program.
Correct.
But if I look at the line items there, I see increased pay for legal secretary, enhanced pay. How does that relate to the traffic safety program?
Because the grant, as granted by the state, is for personnel services for 108,000, supplies for 5,000, travel in-state for 14,000, and travel out-of-state for 4,000. So the funds are being spent on the Vehicle Crimes Bureau Chief as well as assistant personnel to assist with the duties of the grant responsibilities.
The fiscal impact is county, $15,402. Does that mean the county pays part of this money and the grant pays the other?
No. The grant is being covered completely by, it will be kind of, it's federal funds, but it's pass-through funds that will go to the state, so there'll be no charge to the county.
So why is the fiscal impact then $15,000 under county?
Because it's probably an error.
On the second page of the request for legislative action?
Correct.
That should be what then?
Zero.
Zero? Okay.
All the funds are coming from the federal government through New York State.
Enhanced pay means what? This is A9 1165.
It is grant pay lines. In the past, the legislature has been reluctant to put any increase in funds into individual salary lines, so the money is put into the enhanced pay line so that if the grant goes away, it could easily be taken out rather than be put into a salary line and then taken away.
What if these salaries are raised and then the grant goes away? What will happen to these salaries?
The funds will be taken out of the enhanced pay line and they will be gone.
So there will be a reduction in pay for those particular employees? Okay. On this, on the increase-decrease page, it looks like there's 30,000 increase. Then there would have to be a corresponding 30,000 decrease. Is that correct?
In public safety revenues, correct.
But if I look under that line, it says increase 30,381.
There'll be an increase in the revenues that are coming into the county. So the bottom line will decrease, and it is a negative, but the county is going to get an increase in $30,000 when we ask for reimbursement from the state.
So this public safety revenue line is the increase of money from the grant?
Correct.
Okay.
It has a zero net impact on the county because the funds that we receive from the state will equal the increases in the appropriations.
Was this RLA submitted by the RLA deadline?
Yes, it was. We put the RLA in, actually in August, and it was heard by the Law Committee in August, but
But that was withdrawn, though, wasn't that RLA, or no?
It was not.
And
withdrawn.
was it the same as this one?
It had the same grant implications in it, yes. But the fiscal piece and the authorization for the budget amendment was brought this month.
So this is 100% state money?
Correct.
Budget neutral?
Yes.
Anything else, Mr. Grimm?
Thank you.
So
Thank
moved.
you. Anyone else?
One quick question.
Yes, Mr.
The $15,000 that you show there, is that just what the county has to put forward that they'll be reimbursed for the grant
Correct.
in this budget period from now to the end of our fiscal year?
Exactly.
That's why that's there.
Exactly.
So that will be reimbursed.
Correct.
Is this an annual grant?
It is an annual grant. It is a grant where two GTSCs, or traffic safety experts, are funded in every state throughout the country. And it's a competitive grant where all of the prosecutors' offices or whoever would like to apply for the grant can apply, and only two are selected in every state. And so our office was selected for this grant, and the fiscal year does begin October 1st, so there will be implications for the 2018 budget, but we will deal with those during the budget cycle. And this.
So we may see you back here again in the same scenario now because of having to advance funds in order to be able to participate.
It's possible, but what we're going to do for 18 is budget the entire year.
The entire amount.
Right, and then if we don't end up getting the grant, we won't be reimbursing, so we won't be using in the last quarter of 18.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone
Thank you,
else?
Mr. Chairman.
Motion to move it, Mr. Signorachi, second by Mr. Joyce, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
I think I saw the clerk somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gilly, step right up, sir.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Clerk. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We have number 8, number 7, authorizing the county clerk's office to execute an agreement with various vendors to begin electronic recording. Are there any questions for the clerk? Mr. Green?
Yeah, the plan is to charge these folks that use this service for fees, or?
We won't be doing the charging. The companies and the vendors that are going to be doing e-recording for title companies, banks, and attorneys and individuals will be charging them for their services. And then these e-recording companies that we hopefully will contract with will then submit their fees to my office. And also, we won't get any paper anymore. It'll be all done by electronic documentation.
So the users will pay the fees then?
The users will pay the
Okay.
fees.
Do we have any control over how reasonable those fees are?
These are statutory fees. These companies have to charge a certain fee. It'd
By
be just like,
state law?
Yeah, it'd be the same as if they came into my office. It's just that these title companies, banks, and attorneys will be able to utilize these e-recording companies. Sometimes they're out of state, and it makes it much easier for them to deal with these companies. We're one of the only counties left that doesn't e-record. So that's why I initiated this RLA to try and get this together. It's a great benefit to the title companies, the banks, attorneys, and individuals that want to submit land record documents to my office.
Anyone else? Ernest?
I'm a little confused. I need to be able to explain this to some of my other members. So maybe we break this down a little bit. So if I have a deed.
It's not a deed now.
Okay, that's my first question.
These are land records.
Deeds not land records?
No. That's
What's
mortgage
the
and deeds.
What's the
Mortgage and
definition?
deeds are e-filing. It's a whole different system.
So what are the land records are you talking about?
Court records.
That's a land record.
Yeah.
Okay. You got me on that one. So
Anyone
we're
else?
talking about litigation documentation here. Summons and complaints.
That people want to file with my office, correct. They'll now be able to e-record it and submit it to my office through
So
a
the
vendor.
circuit court is already doing this.
Circuit court is already into this,
So
yes, it's mandated.
Index fee is $210. They'll pay the company the $210?
Yep, and then the company will pay us.
And is there an additional fee to the company?
I'm sure there is, but we don't get involved with that. We just make sure that the transaction is done with our office with the fees that are applicable with the statutory rates.
But will that individual still have the ability to come into your office?
They will.
And pay just $210?
They will, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Signorachi?
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Signorachi, second, Mr. Clay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Number 8, amending the 2017 Office of County Clerk budget, electronic deed and mortgage software. This is budget neutral. Any questions?
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Signorachi, second by Mr. Joyce, all in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I appreciate it very much for your time and effort.
Have a good evening. And we'll go down to 11, authorizing agreement with the State Homeland Security Services, Homeland Security Program for 2017. It's a New York State grant, $400,000, 100% state money. Any questions? Motion to move it. Mr. Signoracci, second by Mr. Joyce, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Number 12 is the Department of Health Administrative Adjustments. This is vaccines, $25,000 for RN. Any questions? Motion to move it, Mr. Signoracci. Mr. Touche, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you for coming. Number 13, authorizing agreement with Better Health for Northeast regarding crisis stabilization services, 100% state money, the social services. Any questions? Mr. Grimm?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, it looks like we're hiring 3 folks
Yes.
with state money.
Yes.
And they're informed if the state money runs out, then their job runs out as well?
When the money's gone, they're gone.
Okay.
That's been our policy for years now.
Okay, good.
Any
Doctor,
questions?
yeah, I have another question. How are we, what is the outcome that we're tracking to ensure that these 3 hires are really delivering the taxpayer value?
So just to put in a framework, this is part of the Medicaid redesign that the government
Home
started
with
in
4 boys
2011.
and my wife.
The district
On her
projects,
birthday.
which you've all heard about, there are 26 across the state. Albany Medical Center is the local organization that this Better Health for Northeast New York is working with. The goal is a 25% reduction in hospitalization across the board. They believe that the service we provide for 16 hours a day would better advance their goals if we were 24-hour operation.
Okay.
The goal is to keep people out of the hospital, and our mobile crisis team is very successful in doing that during the hours that it operates. This is an opportunity to add another shift, which would hopefully reach the goals of keeping more people out of the hospital.
So we're tracking that carefully?
Oh, yeah.
How many people actually are kept out of the hospital?
Right now, we see, last year we saw 1,000, we responded to 1,000 calls in the community with the police, and about 60% of those were diverted on the scene. It doesn't mean that, in a week later they might present themselves again, but those are all people who would have presented to the emergency room, who were able to get some alternative services.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we track how we're doing each year on what our goal is, which is to reduce hospitalization.
Yes, sir, we watch that number very carefully.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. Any other questions? Motion to move it, Mr. Signoracci, second by Mr. Joyce, all in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Number 14 is authorizing real property at 293 Orange Street on the City of Albany. Any questions? Motion to move it, Mr.
Simpson.
Simpson? Second. Mr. Claus, all in favor? Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Simpson, do you want to be on this one?
Yeah.
As we discussed?
Yes.
Unanimous, there you go. Number 15, authorizing advance of property at 518 Wilson Skill Road in the town of Knox, joining property owner. Any questions? Motion to move it, Mr. Clay, second. Mr. Signoracci, all in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Number 16 is authorizing the purchase of real property. Okay, so where are we here? Authorizing a conveyance of real property purchased in the town of Bethlehem for the Albany County Rail Trail. Motion to move it. Mr. Trochet, second by Mrs. Signoracci, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Number 17, authorizing advance of real property, town of Guilderland. Let's go back to the guy with the taxes. Any questions? Motion to move it. Somebody?
Motion.
Mr. Clay, second Mr. Signoracci, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Number 18, authorizing advance of property, 8 Pearson Avenue in the town of Colonnade, letting property owner. Motion to move it. Mr. Signoracci, second by Mr. Kraus, all in favor? Opposed? Number 19, authorizing, directing the Board of Elections to certify the expenses for the 2016 election cycle. These are our chargebacks for the last election. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Yep. I just want to, just be clear to everyone, these are the actual expenses that were incurred during the course of running the elections.
Yes.
Because it was my experience back in 2007, that was not the case, that they weren't, the chargebacks were related to assessed value rather than the actual cost.
No, these are actual costs, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a change, but I
That's the old way, this is the new way.
yeah, that's why I just want to make that clear because, I made this an issue in 2007.
You
Yes,
spend it, you pay for it.
that's right, exactly.
That's how it's done.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Motion to move it. Mr. Signorachi, second by Mr. Clay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Number 20, establish uniform policy regarding municipal payment of county real taxes. Do you have a handout for this?
Yes, the handout's been passed out. Basically, what we're trying to do here is have a uniform policy for everybody to pay the county share of the taxes. As everyone knows, the way the tax bills work, you pay for both your county and your local taxes on the same bill. The municipality gets to keep all of the money until they're made whole on their tax levy. And the rest of the money starts to come to the county, whatever's left over. What we're trying to do here is most municipalities already transfer the property taxes to us on a monthly basis. We're trying to set a policy up where everybody transfers it to the county on a monthly basis, so the county isn't essentially holding the bag for a period of time.
Pat, why is the Audit and Finance Committee on here as a sponsor? Nobody was sent to me. I don't know anything about
Well,
this.
I understand, but Mr. Ward put it on, he's the chairman of the legislature.
But he's not the chairman of this committee.
But he
The
can-
chairman of the committee sets the agenda for the committees, not the chair of the legislature.
That's not quite true.
That's true.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is.
The chairman of the legislature can set the agendas for any committee, put anything he wants on the committee. That's one of his prerogatives as chairman.
But you can't introduce legislation without asking the committee.
That's why we're here.
You put us on before we even saw it.
Well, it hasn't gone to the full legislature. If you don't want to do it, we won't put it into the legislature. It's that simple. You don't have to send it to the legislature if the committee decides not to send it.
No, my point is you don't add a whole committee to a resolution that nobody saw.
The resolution is here if the committee wants to pass it, it'll be a committee resolution. If the committee doesn't want to pass it, it goes nowhere.
Here's the situation with this. We all remember when this came out last time, and the municipalities not having enough information to see how it affects them. In particular, the city of Albany is probably the one that's going to be affected the most.
Well, they shouldn't be affected. It's not their money.
Well, the point, it is going to affect them. So I would say this. First, I would ask if the committee wants to be on here as a sponsor.
I do.
Okay. Anyone else?
Oh.
Mr. Torche? Anyone else? Mr. Krause? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I just say, I agree with you. No one else has the ability to put me on a bill other than me.
Exactly.
Okay?
Well, it's not you, it's the committee.
Well, I am on the committee.
On,
Yeah.
Then vote no.
Yeah, I don't think this is, moving forward, this shouldn't happen again, because no one can speak for me with respect to whether I'm on a bill or
No one
not.
has. Unless you pass it, it doesn't go anywhere.
It says Audit and Finance,
Yes,
introduced by Audit and
because
Finance.
that's the one that would put it out if it goes out. The Audit and Finance Committee puts things out with 4 negative votes half the time.
But there should be the named sponsors on this.
It comes out of finance only after it's come out of the committee. This came in as a finance committee, that's all I'm saying.
All right, next time we'll just leave the committee off and we'll type it in later.
Or whoever brought it forward, put their name on it.
It's
Yeah.
for the Audit and Finance Committee to make the decision. That's why the Audit and Finance Committee is on there.
So-
If the Audit and Finance Committee does not want to do it, it's very simple. It goes no
But
farther.
here's the thing, so we're gonna amend this to have Signorachi, Graham, Torche, and Kraus as sponsors.
No, I'm not on it.
You're not on
I
it,
just want to
okay.
make that point, I'm not
Oh,
on it, okay?
So make it Signorachi, Torche, and Kraus as sponsors.
I'm assuming that the chairman would also be on it.
I'm sorry?
I'm
Yeah,
assuming
Mr. Ward should be on it
Mr.
too.
Ward
then.
would be
Well, you can't put him on unless he's here, I believe that's our policy.
According to council, I thought
What's that?
Mr. Jeffers indicated Mr. Ward was the one that.
But unless
Brought this
Mr. Ward is here to say he wants to be on it, I believe that's our policy, that we can't put you on. We can, I can cite many times during, we had committee meetings and members want to add people and they would say, no, you can't, am I wrong on that, Nick? All right, anyway,
Mr. Chairman,
we can add them
That's
afterwards.
fine, but can I ask a question on the substance of this particular piece
Yeah,
of
sure.
information? Do we know on an annual basis approximately how much money does get held back?
All of it in one municipality for
All
a
of
year.
it
It
in
gets
one
held for a year.
Gets held for a year?
What it is.
So this basically, are we talking about the city of Albany?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so right now, the city of Albany withholds funds
Right now,
that
the
should
city of
flow to
Albany
the
has
county.
not paid the taxes we levied in January of 2017. Everybody
they
else is
usually,
paid their
correct?
share.
Everybody else is paid?
Yes.
For the city. And
And
what's,
according to their
all that-
schedule,
all that
yes,
all-
right away.
okay, and what's that number?
I don't know what the number is. Do you know, Tony, what the number is?
It was about $18 million.
$18 million. When do they usually pay?
Sometime after the beginning of next year.
So they're always a year in arrears?
More than a year, correct.
That they probably collect interest on.
Here's what I'd like to do, because the municipalities wanted to have an opportunity to address that last time, so I'd like to table it tonight. And in the meantime, ask finance to give us the last 5 years of when the city of Albany paid us, so we know exactly what you're talking
think
about.
that's reasonable.
You know, and then we can move forward. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, I just want an opportunity for these people to come up and say, you know, this is how this affects us. I don't know how this affects the city of Albany taxpayers, so that's why I don't want to.
I just want to make clear, it's not any money that the city of Albany is entitled to.
Right, they have it, they're holding our money.
They're holding.
Collecting interest probably.
Well, interest, nothing, but
It's
whatever-
more than what we're
whatever,
getting.
More than nothing.
So,
Motion on the table, Mr. Joyce, second, Mr. Clay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. We have 21, Cold War vets.
Where?
These things are left and right.
No, one was-
Just saw 20, I just looked down the website. 21? Not on here? So
seven.
confusing to live here.
Number 21 is Cold War vets.
Yes, that's to
that on?
extend the exemption for Cold War veterans for real property tax exemption is currently in existence. It's being extended. The governor just signed the bill, that's why there's nothing in the backup really.
and it just came out of law Monday
It
night,
came out of law Monday night, correct.
unanimous.
I thought we already passed that.
You did, but now there's a 10-year limit on it. And now that it's being extended beyond the 10-year limit.
Okay.
It just got passed by the governor, that's why there's nothing here. I haven't had a chance to even get a copy and look at it
Okay.
to any great degree. He just signed it, last week or a little before, a week to 10 days ago.
And we don't want to have any sort of lapse in benefits to
That's
any of the
correct.
veterans. So that's why we're moving on it, so moved.
What, hold on, so there's no paperwork on this, or?
Not yet.
The only thing I have is the bill itself that was passed, which I am trying to figure out because it's typical state jargon.
How can we vote on something without any paper?
Because it's a renewal of what we had.
It's for the good of the Cold War veterans, so I know that it's not going to, you won't get any negative repercussions from your constituents.
No,
sure.
I understand that, but, you know,
I understand what you're
procedural,
saying,
yeah.
but we just didn't get it from them yet, and we're still digesting it so that we can
Yes.
act in a timely manner to make it
We're only
work.
doing a public hearing at this
Yeah.
point.
No,
We're only
Oh, it's public,
voting
okay.
on the
Yeah.
public hearing. We're not passing the bill until after the public hearing.
Okay, okay,
Public hearing.
okay.
Motion moved.
Motion by Mr. Siderachi, second by Mr. Joyce, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Motion adjourned, Mr. Clay, second by Mr. Joyce. Unanimous.